Hey there! Today, we are diving into a really cool philosophical puzzle called abstract objects. You know, these are the powerful ideas that we all seem to share and understand, things like numbers or justice, but you can't ever actually touch them or see them. So the big question is, how do they even exist?
All right, to get our brains warmed up, let's just start with a super simple question. Just look at this slide. What do a red apple and two red tennis balls have in common? I mean, the answer seems pretty obvious, right? But believe it or not, that simple answer opens up a massive philosophical rabbit hole. So just keep that question in the back of your mind as we go.
So to figure out this puzzle, we have to start with stuff that's familiar. So for this first section, we're going to talk about things you can literally kick. Right. These are the physical things that exist in the world all around us. And philosophers, they have a specific name for them: concrete objects. It's a pretty good name, actually, because they're solid, they're real, and you can physically interact with them. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about things like that specific red apple on your kitchen counter, or your dog, or maybe the chair you're sitting in right now, or a tennis ball. The key thing about all of these is that they exist in a specific place at a specific time. You can point right at them. Okay, so that's the easy part, right? The physical world. But what about the other side of the coin? Now let's dive into the weird world of ideas you just can't touch. And here is the core difference we need to get our heads around. Concrete objects, like we said, exist in space and time. You can bump into them. But abstract objects? Nope. They don't exist in space or time. They have no physical location, no weight, no texture. You can't touch them, but you can definitely think about them. So what on earth is an abstract object, really? Well, here is the perfect example: the number 7. Just think about the idea of 7 for a second. Sure, you can write the symbol for 7, the numeral 7 that you see on the screen. That symbol, the ink on the page, is concrete. But the idea of sevenness itself, the actual concept, where is that? You're never going to bump into the number 7 walking down the street. It's a pure abstract idea. Okay, so we've got concrete things we can kick on one side and abstract ideas we can't on the other. So what in the world does this have to do with that apple and those tennis balls from the beginning? Well, this is where we uncover the secret they all share. Let's use a classic philosophy example. Just picture two red tennis balls sitting on a table. We'll just call them ball A and ball B. Super simple, right? Okay, so we know they're two totally separate concrete objects. You can pick one up without touching the other. And yet, they obviously share some qualities, right? They both have this property of redness, and they both share the property of roundness. And this leads us to the million-dollar question. Where does redness itself actually live? Think about it. It's not just in ball A, and it's not just in ball B. This one quality seems to be in two different places at the exact same time. How is that possible? Where is it? Well, philosophers have a name for this crazy shared quality. They call it a universal. A universal is a single, one-of-a-kind quality, like redness, that can somehow show up in many different concrete things, all at once. It's the one thing that exists in the many. Now, I know this can feel a little mind-bending, for sure. So to make it absolutely crystal clear, let's use a brilliant analogy. I like to call it the cookie cutter clue. Honestly, I love this analogy because it makes everything just click. Just picture yourself in the kitchen, you're getting ready to bake some cookies, and you've got your dough and a cookie cutter. Okay, so here's how it works. The cookie cutter itself, that's the universal. It's the single abstract idea, the shape of a star, let's say. Then the cookies you press out of the dough, those are the particulars. They are the individual concrete objects that all share that one star shape. That single shape exists in all of the separate cookies, all thanks to that one cutter. So let's just put it all together right here. The particulars, they're like the individual cookies, or in our original example, this specific apple. The universals, that's the cookie cutter. It's the abstract quality they all share, like redness or even appleness. You can think of it like the blueprint for the real thing. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, that actually makes sense. But for philosophers, oh boy, this is where the real debate, the real fight begins. This very idea has sparked a philosophical argument that's been going on for centuries. The whole conflict really boils down to this one huge question. Are these universals, things like redness or the number 7, are they real things that exist out there on their own, totally independent of our minds? Or are they just convenient words, just labels that we invented to group similar things together?
And this brings us to the two main teams in this fight. On one side, you've got the realists. They believe that redness is totally real. It's an abstract object that exists on its own in some invisible abstract realm, like a perfect blueprint. But on the other side, you've got the nominalists, and they say, no way. Redness doesn't exist on its own. It's just a name, a handy label we made up for all the things that happen to look similar to our eyes.
And look, this whole debate goes so far beyond just colors and shapes. It really touches on the biggest, most profound ideas we deal with as people. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Is an idea like justice or beauty a real, universal thing that we are all tapping into? A true concept out there, waiting for us to discover it? Or is it just a useful label we invented for a certain set of actions or a particular feeling? That's the puzzle of abstract objects, and it is definitely one worth thinking about.